Hello and welcome. This is Honeysuckle bringing you the player update for July 2017 for the Minecraft Hardcore Challenge. This is for episode 1. We have 20 participants so far this month. And no particular order, just the way I happen to watch them. We begin with Mack G Mania. He started out by heading west to the roofed forest to gather wood, and in Native American fashion he made a birch canoe to explore for the coordinates for the lighthouse build. Once he located that, he headed back to the forest for more wood, gathered some stone from the cliffside, back over to get mushrooms for food, then spent the night on the treetops, safe from the mobs. He even traveled across them to check out the source of a forest fire in the distance. Next, we have Gregg C96. This was his take 2. His first one, he died to a baby zombie, I believe. And that is posted. You can watch that if you want. But in this one, his official episode 1, he headed west to the roofed forest for wood, food, and other resources, then took a boat over to check out the coordinates for the build site. Spent the rest of the episode basically mining, unable to find the iron he needed to mine the gold, redstone, and diamonds that he finds until the very end of the episode. But at least he has the iron he'll need for next time to start out. Next, we have Granny's Got Game. She took a look around to get her bearings before she headed west to the roofed forest to get wood, mushrooms, then she swam back across at night to gather coal and other resources. A new player this month, Rabbit Roars. She explored around the spawn area before heading west to the roofed forest for wood and food, built a very unique shelter using fences with a slab roof, with access underground to mine for resources overnight. I did really like that little shelter. It's very nice way to still be able to see out what's going on around her, but safe from the mobs because they can't see her through the fences. Next, we have Blanc Samurai. She explored her spawn area looking for trees or grass and headed east a few hundred blocks before finding some spruce trees in a little meadow. She did grab some wood before burrowing underground for the night, and she got a nice supply of coal and some iron. Next, we have Dragon Feathers. She looked around and spotted the roofed forest to the west and headed across the water to gather some wood. At night, she headed off in a boat to find our special coordinates, then dug in for the night, clearing out a little room in the rock to serve as her base. Then I rewatched my episode just to refresh because I recorded it last Friday. I headed west to the roofed forest, gathered wood, mushrooms, and then back to the cliff for coal, and went mining overnight, finding iron to smelt up for my second episode. Next, we have JavaDad. He explored his spawn area, talking about the lighthouse he just built in another series and how this one will be different. Then he looked around a bit before heading west to the roofed forest for wood, then back to the cliffs for coal, then back to the forest to continue gathering wood. As night fell, he jumped in a boat to hunt down our build coordinates, built a little platform off the edge of the cliff to call home, and tilled up a small garden for his seeds. He's the first person I actually saw plant seeds. One of the, I think only 2 or 3 people actually doing that on their first episode. Then he started staircasing down and crossed a cave that looked like a beginning of a ravine, but might be a little bit too small for that. And that's where he ended his episode, was underground, I believe. John Fowl 92, he marked out his spot that he thought was the correct coordinates for the build, but he had positive coordinates or negative coordinates on the Z, which should be positive. So luckily he hadn't built it yet, so he'll be able to fix that. He did go west to the roofed forest, as pretty much everyone else has done so far. He gathered wood, starts a mine on the forest edge to get stone tools, gets more wood, mushrooms, then back underground for resources, smelting up the iron he finds right away to put it to use. He finds a cave to explore to finish out his episode. Next, we have Dadcraft 73. He heads off to the roof forest to get wood and mushrooms, then heads over to check out the build coordinates before heading back to the forest to get more wood and build a ragtag box home on the beach as several zombies emerged from the forest at night to chase him. Then he headed underground looking for coal and iron. He did find enough iron for a shield and sword, which he equipped to go take a look around the beach as morning finally came. Next, we have Wandering Nerd. He started off heading to the roof forest for wood and mushrooms before heading down for cobble and tools, then back to gathering food and wood. As night fell, he headed out in a boat to locate the build coordinates and dug into the cliff to head down and mine for resources, setting up a small base inside the cliff. Next, we have Tim Obert, Captain Hook 5150. This was his take 2 also. He's using shaders, I believe, Gregg was using shaders as well this month. So he starts out like everyone else, heading to the root forest for wood and mushrooms, then boated over to the build coordinates. He dug into the cliff to make a small base while mining through the night for resources, namely diorite for his lighthouse he plans to build. As morning came, he stepped out to double check his coordinates and gets ambushed by a creeper, but luckily survives. Lucky, lucky. Next we have Dark Age Man. He verified which direction the build coordinates will be as he heads to the roofed forest to begin gathering resources while he talks about his idea for the lighthouse. He also gathers mushrooms for food, which a lot of players are doing, so it looks like most of us will be living off shrooms for this month. I hope that doesn't mean things will get too crazy. As night falls, he hops in a boat and heads out to the build coordinates. He digs out a little hole in the cliffside for a base, and as he heads down for resources, he runs into the same ravine that JavaDad found, I believe. Could be wrong, but I think it's the same one. And there he ends his first episode. Good job. Next, we have Baker Bell Games. She started out heading to the roofed forest for wood, food, and other resources to get started, then headed across the water to the build coordinates and started flattening the mountaintop to make a nicer area to build on. Then she headed down for the night in search of iron and other goodies. She finds a cave with a creeper and absolutely nothing else. It was a little bitty tiny cave. She ended up needing to come out to grab some surface coal during the night so she could smelt her iron, and I believe that was basically how she ended the episode, was just still down in the caves. Next we have TSG Gaming. He headed to the roofed forest for wood, then boated over to check out the build coordinates, then checks out the rest of the island, planted some saplings, and then started gathering some cobble and coal. And I believe he was singing about scary skeletons while building a small shelter. Then he spent the rest of the night collecting different rocks while fighting off the zombies. Grandma's Gone Gaming. She is doing her best to record episodes this month before her surgery, and so I'm hoping she'll be able to get all the episodes done. If not, it's completely understandable, but always like her videos. So in her first one, she collected dirt and sand and gravel, all of which you can collect by hand without any tools. She collected those right there from the spawn area before she headed over to the roofed forest. And all the while, she's telling the story of how to make stone soup. So, very interesting community effort story. So she collects some wood and mushrooms before boating over to find the build coordinates. She says she might build a triangular lighthouse after she sees the shape of the island. So that would be very interesting to see. During the night, she fights off some mobs while exploring the island, then dealt with a baby zombie as the sun rose by cliff diving away into the water. Good job getting away from that baby zombie. Next we have Karn. He started off by heading to the roofed forest to get wood for a boat, then went to the specified coordinates to find the build site. Then he went back to get more wood. Then as night fell, he headed back out to explore the cliffs for coal. He chose a small island off the large one to build his lighthouse on and started flattening it as the sun rose. I think he was saying he was worried about falling to his death if he tried to build on top of that very tall part of the island. Next, we have another new player this month, Bad Senator. He starts off, as pretty much everyone else does, by heading to the roofed forest to gather wood. Immediately gets his stone tools squared away. Then he makes a boat to find the build coordinates, marks it with the pillar, then heads back to gather more wood. And he gets a brown mushroom, then dodges some skeletons and zombies to get to a red mushroom, and thus securing a food source in mushroom stew, as most everyone else has done. Then he jumps back in the boat to head over to the cliffs for coal, and he dove underwater to escape a couple of skeletons at the end of the episode. That was, to me, a pretty clever way to avoid the skeletons. He dug down and managed to just make a little pocket of air under there. Next we have Icy Bubba. He starts off by locating the build coordinates, then started the search for wood, somehow completely overlooking the roofed forest he could see from his spawn point. But he did manage to explore and find the same spruce trees that Blanc Samurai did. So he planted his seeds by a small pond, then he headed underground as night had already fallen at this point, where he hung out for the rest of the episode. And last but not least, we have DJ Paul. He headed to the root forest for wood, got some mushrooms, traveled across the tree tops, then made a boat to locate the build coordinates, and dug into the cliff as night fell. He did dig down, finding some iron, made an iron pick, one of the very few made in the first episode, so great job. And I'm sorry if some of these are rushed and others are rather long and detailed. Just happened to be the way I was feeling at the time that I made the notes. And kind of a rush job because I didn't expect to be doing the player updates this month. But there you have it. And that is episode 1 for everyone that has posted so far. If I missed anyone, leave a comment. And we will see you in the next update. Bye.